Welcome to another episode of Discussions by Domain. I am your host, Anthony DeGraw, and today we have Dan Cooley, account manager at Green Cloud. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. This is an awesome experience.
Yeah, this is going to be super fun. Today we're going to talk about the topic of the growth and future of cloud. So we connected probably a month ago about this, kind of what was the thoughts on how did we want to talk about the cloud? And I kind of brought to your attention, and I think you agree with it. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the cloud is there, and enterprises, of course, right? All the services we're using nowadays, from SaaS models and all this thing, definitely cloud-based. They're fully up and running. The SMB space, small and medium-sized businesses, though, still lagging behind, and maybe as they do with a lot of things, but they're lagging behind. So we wanted to talk about the growth within the SMB space because it's picking up. And then also, like, what does the future of cloud look like? What's security look like? What does compliance look like? You know, how is there more adoption within the SMB space? What leads to more adoption? So happy to have you on for this, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, we kind of teed this up a month ago or so, and I thought you had some great questions and ideas, and I think it's important to, let people know how we see it as a cloud provider. So.
Exactly. So before we get into that, though, let's tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your background, and also what you guys are up to nowadays at Green Cloud.
Yeah. So I'm 28 years old. I've been with Green Cloud for 4 years and some change now.
Awesome.
Out of the 9 that they've been in business, so about half the time. I started as a sales development rep, making 200 dials a day. Really pounding the phones, calling companies like yourself, trying to get them to have the conversation.
Okay.
And it's funny, when I think back to that, like how much the space has changed in just 4 years. It's been pretty great. Over a few promotions, I've now become an account manager, transitioning into channel manager.
Okay.
Which is like the full-time outside sales guy thing. Right?
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Green Cloud's started as a DR company solely, but there was this little company called Datto that was kind of cornering that market, right?
Yeah.
So we transitioned to infrastructure, which has been our bread and butter for the past 7-8 years. Now getting into more of a managed security type business as well.
Okay.
So a lot of growth and change over the past few years.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Awesome. And was that right out of college for yourself?
No, it was
a couple years later.
A few years, right?
Okay.
I was kind of bouncing back and forth between random sales jobs.
Yeah.
Didn't know I would land in technology, but knew the
once
right
you get there, it feels pretty good, right?
Yeah,
The tech
well, it's
roles
exciting. It changes so much, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why I liked it so much is that you have to adapt with the times. So it's great.
That's really cool stuff. I spent too much time in insurance, and then I was like, yeah, tech seems cool. I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about, or if you could walk the audience through, like, what is the cloud? And the reason I'm asking this is I think so many people are confused about what it actually is. Yes. Can you simplify it for them?
Yeah. So it's funny because the cloud is kind of a broad stroke, right? It could probably mean a lot of different things depending on how you're looking at it. But for Green Cloud specifically, cloud would be virtual infrastructure, right? So that's housing data that you would typically have on site on a server or on your computer or whatever it may be in a data center, which would be one of ours, right?
Okay.
So that's virtual infrastructure. That would probably be the description.
Yeah. No, that makes sense a lot. And So cloud at its baseline is just data and servers in a different location.
Yeah, it's your computer somewhere else.
Okay.
That's how
very
we look at
good.
It. Yeah.
And what isn't cloud? Is there anything out there that like you hear all the time, like you like, I don't know if you're at something or whatnot, and they're like cloud, they're talking about it, and you're like, no, that's just not it.
Well, yeah, I think that kind of goes back to what I said. It's like there's such a broad stroke for the word cloud.
Yeah.
You think about email, things like that. I mean, in a sense, that's the cloud, right? You're storing, messages somewhere else.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a broad stroke, but for us, I think just focusing on the fact that we're taking data and housing it in our data center, that would be it.
That's it. Cool.
Yeah.
What led to the growth of cloud adoption? Like how 9 years ago, right? You guys started. What led to the growth of people jumping onto the cloud?
Man, that was a hard time. Obviously, I wasn't there right at the beginning of that.
Yeah.
But from the stories I've heard, it was tough, right? Because there wasn't an understanding of what it was, right? And there
Yeah.
probably still isn't in a lot of cases. But I would think the big thing up front was the cost, and not necessarily that the cost was cheaper,
Yeah.
but more so you didn't have to pay so much up front, right?
Okay.
So when you're talking about hardware, you're looking at, you have to predict what the next 3 to 5 years is going to look like and invest $20,000, $40,000, $100,000
Yeah.
of dollars up front for that. Where with the cloud, you're going to pay for exactly what you need at that time.
Gotcha.
So that was the first thing.
Yeah.
And then I think in that same vein, it's kind of twofold, is that you start looking at scalability, right? Instead of having to predict 5 years out, you get what you need right now. And as your company grows, it's as simple as a call and saying, hey,
I need more.
I need more, and then we give you that, right? So
Yeah.
scalability was a huge part of that too.
How does Green Cloud specifically handle that? Because that's got to be something that you guys are looking at, right? Like,
Yeah.
Hey, we have X amount of customers. We're potentially going to have X amount of more customers. How do you guys handle infrastructure needs on your end?
Yeah. So for us, we have 6 data centers across the U.S.
Okay,
Right.
wow.
So good amount of space there.
Yeah.
It would take, a significant amount or a significant request for us to be in a situation where we didn't have enough space.
Correct,
Like
yeah.
petabytes, you
Yeah,
know, which I don't, hopefully that happens, but
Yeah,
I doubt that's
exactly.
going to happen. But so for us, basically how we set it up is it's based on an allocation model, right? So what that means is you're going to pay for exactly what you get. It's flat rate month to month.
Okay.
You pay for that, and then let's say in 2 months you added 5 users and you need a little bit more space, more RAM.
Yep.
You give us a call and say, hey, we need about 10 more gigs of RAM and 500 gigs of space.
Okay. Yeah.
It's as easy as we basically go and our engineers go in and add it. And
Turn it
that
on.
easy,
It's
right?
just a click, right?
Yeah.
It's a little more than that.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a click.
To the end user, it's just a click.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what is the benefits of the cloud for organizations. You quickly mentioned, right, you don't have that big upfront. You don't have to buy 5 servers tomorrow and
Right.
outlay $100,000 and the labor and all this stuff to get it up and running and installed correctly. You get these flat monthly fees for what you're actually using. And the scalability is the second I need more, I just make a phone call.
Right.
It takes 1 click and we're good to go.
Yep.
But no, I know there's other benefits of the cloud too. So can you touch on those?
Yeah. So I think when you start looking at security, that's probably one of the bigger ones, right?
Yeah.
You no doubt are at a higher risk of a data breach if your servers are on site.
Okay.
That's just because of the level of technology and the money we've put into the infrastructure already as
Yeah.
a cloud provider. So that's the big one, right? And then not only is there probably a better base level of security that we also have a full security suite that you can layer on to it that could protect you even more. So I think security is one.
Yeah.
The next thing I would probably look at would be redundancy.
Yeah.
From a power, networking, internet, viewpoint. We're redundant in all of those things. If internet goes down, another tier's there, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that may be. If you were doing that on site,
You're limited to
more.
the internet providers that are in your area. You may have 1 in your building if
That's
you're lucky.
exactly right.
May have 2. And
even if you were trying to pay for something like that, for an SMB type business, it's probably out of reach.
Yeah, you're not going to run those lines. You're not going to pay for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be probably 2 of them.
And talk about geo redundancy real quick too, because that's a big one for why you would move to the cloud too.
Yeah. So a lot of times, let's say that there's a huge disaster somewhere. Yeah. What we have built in is redundancy between our data centers. So not only could you not have your data right in your city, you could have it in a different city. But not only that, we already have it replicated to another data center, which is
Gotcha.
miles and miles away,
Yeah.
states away.
Yeah.
Right? So that's big, right? So if there is some type of major disaster, we already have redundancy built in to move you around and
Yeah.
protect your data.
Yeah, I remember when Hurricane Sandy hit for us, right? That was a big one here, and even Irene for some people, or you have 9/11, right? Something like that type of issue. and the geo redundancy, being either able to get to your data and move it physically yourself, or having, if all your infrastructure and data is still on-prem and you're on the 11th floor in downtown Manhattan, and they close downtown Manhattan because of Sandy or terrorism or whatever, what are you going to do? You can't physically get to it.
And this is a great example when I believe it was Harvey in Houston. We have a data center in Houston.
Okay.
When that was happening, while I was coming in, we actually geared up to move everything we had via Zerto, which is a hypervisor replication tool. We had everything queued up and ready to go. So if there was any flooding or any problem like that, we were going to be able to move all of the clients that we had there out of there and no problem, right? That type of thing is another reason that it's big to be in the cloud rather than on-premise.
On-premise as well.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the future of cloud. What does that look like? What do you see as, obviously, this is your day-to-day. What does the future of cloud look like for you? Like, what is Green Cloud thinking about in 5 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the future is bright, right? When you look at just year over year, what we've seen nothing but growth in the cloud, maturity of education of the cloud, right? So we're seeing more people move that way. When you look at it from like a finance perspective or something like that, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? And that grows every year. So I think what we're seeing is that more people are becoming more educated. You have companies like AWS and Azure who are promoting it on, network television
everywhere.
Right? So that's huge. Where we don't go direct, but that even helps us. It makes people more aware of what it is and what the possibilities are. So it's growing. But when you look at 5 to 10 years, the other thing you have to think about is more of a SaaS model, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So that's something to us that we know is coming. I mean, I think it's further away than people really think it is, but we're starting to see that happening now.
So real quick for the audience on that, and if I just want to make sure I'm clear on it too, when you say the SaaS is coming for the cloud, meaning that if companies are no longer need to host anything in themselves, right, and they can get access to an application via the web that does everything for them, they no longer as a company need to be thinking about what do I have to have on my server and whatnot.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
Yes, in a way.
Okay.
So that's I think that's kind of where I was going, is that yes, that will happen, and that will cut into infrastructure. Some of it will go away, but I don't think overall all of infrastructure is going away.
I agree,
right? There will always be a piece that's needed, but like I said, I do think we're pretty far away from that happening at a big scale.
No, definitely. Right? And talk to us a little bit about the pricing of cloud. Because I remember when it first came out, yes, you had no upfront costs, right? But you did have these monthly, you could get these estimates, and they would give you this monthly estimate based on what they think you're going to use, you're telling them you're going to use. And it could fluctuate. It could fluctuate significantly too. And it was originally high on that monthly bill. What we've seen is it is starting to come down a little bit and level out, and they're getting better and better at estimating exactly what you're going to use and the cost of that. But how do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that's a big one, right? For us, we've actually gone through maybe 4 or 5 price changes since 9 years ago.
That would make sense.
Obviously, with the market, it's going to happen that way. These things, the price of cloud is cheaper than it's ever been, right? For Green Cloud specifically, we're competitive in the market. But I mentioned earlier, we have that allocation model where exactly what you're paying. That's not going to fluctuate, whereas some of the other big providers have a utility model.
Okay.
And that's where the big fluctuation comes in.
Gotcha.
They say your bill's going to be $200 and it might be $350 next month, and then the next month $190. So it makes it hard to predict.
What are they looking at on the utility model?
So it's usually, data transfer rates, things like that. Like they start looking at that kind of makes that price go up and down.
Gotcha.
But for us, it's not like that. We keep it flat rated. And I think that's a benefit, right? Not only for the end user, but for the MSP.
For us as well, yeah.
Right? So knowing what to tell your end user, what they have to pay is crucial.
Definitely.
Nobody wants a surprise on a bill.
No. Those are always the hardest conversations to have. What excites you about the cloud? For instance, we talked briefly on like 5G, right? We're hearing all about 5G. Verizon up here in the Northeast talking about 5G all the time. How it's the best.
All the signs everywhere here.
Billboards, right? Yeah. He was just saying. He said Dan's been maybe 1 week home since the new year.
Yeah. I think I've been home, and that's adding all the days I have been home. That wasn't a consecutive week.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, it's everywhere, especially in the bigger cities.
Yeah.
That's the talk of the town.
Well, we appreciate you definitely coming out and making the time for this. This is great. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like, so 5G obviously is coming. You have SD-WAN. You have all these different types of things making it easier, quicker, faster for companies to connect to the internet. What does that mean for the cloud?
5G is going to be big. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm saying that just based on what I think could happen. When you start to see a reduction in latency, you start to see a level of connectivity that's faster and cleaner and more reliable. All that does is promote people moving to the cloud. What's always been a problem in certain places is bandwidth and connectivity. But the more that grows, it changes the game for us. And I would expect to see a level. I don't want to put a number on it, but I would expect to see a huge jump in people adopting the cloud because of 5G.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that statement. Here at Domain, we have a saying that maybe not doesn't go completely with Green Cloud, but I think there's a reason for it, and there's a reason why we work with you to clear this up. But we have a saying that the cloud isn't heaven, and what we mean by that is when we're talking to customers, they automatically, my email's in Office 365, or I'm on Google, or I'm in AWS, or this program that I rely on is over here, and they just think it's like just because of that. Everything is perfect. It's heaven, right? And we have to go and educate them. Like, look, Office 365, out of the box, it's not protecting you. It's not security. Right. It's not backing you up. It's big misconceptions, right, about the cloud. And to do it right, it becomes heaven. But internet, we talked about internet access. Like, you could move everything to the cloud, but your building has one internet connection. Right. If that goes down and you have offices all over and everybody's connecting through here, you're down.
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about how you guys educate. You were just saying you educate MSPs on how to talk about this and do it right as well.
Yeah, I think from an MSP standpoint, the first thing you have to do before even implementing cloud is finding a cloud provider that's willing to be transparent with you about what they do and don't do. For one, right? Also, you don't necessarily want that swipe your card and go type of partnership. I think the key word is partnership, right?
Yeah.
Having a team that's going to be there to help you pre-sales, right? That pre-sales engineering is huge. We want to make sure that this is actually even going to work for this client, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that Green Cloud we're very big on is, we're going to be as transparent as possible, and we'll be the first to tell you, hey, this probably isn't a fit for this client, right?
Okay, yeah.
So that's the first thing.
That's great.
Having a good partner. I think once you start looking at the actual implementation, having set guidelines and definitions of what it's going to take to get them to the cloud, right? Yeah. Planning is huge. But then once you're actually looking at the infrastructure, I think backup is another big conversation to have, right? Yep. Green Cloud comes standard with daily SAN snapshots with 7 days of retention.
Okay.
But if you wanted to get more granular than that, we could add on the Veeam piece, which then allows you to set your own retention policies. Not only that, but give you file level recovery. So a backup plan is huge. And then getting even deeper than that, you start looking at, how mission critical is my data, right? And then so when you start looking at that, does it make sense to add on a disaster recovery piece that provides a higher RTO? So there's different options for that, right?
Yeah.
So I think the big thing is being open and transparent about what's needed and what's right. And, I think you can only win from there.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And working with the right partners makes this happen in the best of ways. And I would educate people that if you're considering the cloud, don't just think it's the cloud and it's done. It's the cloud, and there's a lot more to go with it, and it needs to be done right. Just like if you were to have a server on site, it needs to be locked away, and all of these things need to be done the right way to be able to get the most out of it and do what you're trying. Like, what are you trying to accomplish by moving to the cloud?
Exactly.
And if it's it's usually connectivity, being able to be remote anywhere I can get access to my data. If that's the case, let's do it the right way.
Right.
So otherwise, it's just open to everybody.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, right? Is it's easy to go to another company and just say, oh, we're going to put this in the cloud and this should fix my problems. But how open is that company about, what actually you're getting, what is the process to getting you there? A lot of times people think it's like that easy. Like you just go to the cloud really quickly. Like, like we talked about, one of your clients, it took,
years.
A while, right? A couple months.
A couple months to do it.
So setting the right expectations with the client, with your partner, that's everything.
No, that's awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and talking about the cloud. Before I let you go, though, we are going to get a little personal.
Okay.
We're going to see who Dan is behind the scenes.
Cool.
Love to think about, or a question I'd like to ask is, what organizations or other businesses helped you along your career?
I think a big one for me is the Evolve community, which formerly HTG.
Yeah.
I'm a part of the leadership peer group there.
Awesome.
And having other people in the industry that are in similar roles, holding you accountable to your goals, sharing information about technology, the business, growth. It's been extremely impactful in my career. I've been in that for a year and a half now.
That's awesome.
And it's been huge. And it's a great group of people that all have similar ideas to where we want to go with our professional careers as well as our personal careers, at home. And just having that level of friendship and kinship within the community is huge. So
yeah, no, that's great. Chris and I, who you've met, we went out in December of last year, and Domain has a policy where we try and rotate out. We try and bring somebody technical and non-technical to come into the group and understand that as a leadership development piece as well. And I always get something. I was out in Denver. We were just out in Phoenix together, and it's been amazing. So I can second that. It's very good.
Great community, and they're so tight knit. As I mentioned earlier, it's great because you can look and see how all those companies have grown since they've been there, right? Yeah. And so, and I think that comes from the accountability standpoint, right? You have these people that are like, hey, you said you were going to do this. Yeah. You have to do it, So I love that part of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Who is a leader or mentor, specifically, an individual that's helped you or assisted you?
I'd probably say Jonathan Philipsen. He's actually my boss now, but when I started at Green Cloud, he was just a sales guy. I was a sales development rep, but he took a few of us under his wing very early, and kind of showed us what the business looks like, how it's changed, how it's gonna change, and as I was getting promotions, he was getting promotions. He's now the VP of sales, and I work underneath him. And he's been nothing but great in helping me develop my personal life. If you call him at any time, he's going to pick up. Yeah. His wife probably hates that, but he's always there for us, and he's always willing to extend a helping hand. So I would probably credit him the most for my professional growth in the past 4 years.
That's awesome. Yep. We'll have to give a shout out to Jonathan.
Yeah, if he
here.
sees this,
he will. We'll make sure it gets in front of his eyes. What advice would you give your younger self?
That's a good question. I would probably say to widen my view of success.
Okay.
I think when I was younger, right, the big thing was like success was a dollar amount. And I think everybody probably starts out that way, right? But as I've gotten older, I've realized that I don't know that that's necessarily it, right? That's a part of it. But having impact within your community, your company, your family, I think there's a broader version of success that I see now. Yeah. And I would have probably liked to have started having that vision probably a little earlier. Would have been nice. But, in time, right? So that's probably what I would tell my younger self.
I love that.
Yeah. What about you?
So for me, there's been I love that. So I don't want to get rid of that because I think that helps cool the jets a little bit, right? It's hold on a sec. It gives you maybe what I'm going to say. So mine is the number one would be patience. It's patience is needed.
Right.
If you're patient, things come, and just stick with it and consistency. But the other one that somebody mentioned, actually one of the first guests, David Barnett on the show, said, show up. And he said he actually saw that in me, which is great. And because I showed up is why we connected over the years and whatnot. But yeah, just show up. And what I really mean by that is just say yes.
Yeah.
By saying yes, you meet cool people. You do podcasts that nobody thought would ever happen, right? By just saying yes and giving it a shot and going, you're going to meet that one person that over 3 to 5 years is going to change potentially the trajectory of your life, your career, your friendship. You have no idea. So saying yes and then being patient after saying yes for the results, right?
I gotcha.
Thanks for asking that, though. Nobody's asked me it back. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And then you've talked about community a decent amount, so I'm interested on this. Any nonprofits or charities that you personally support and would want to give some recognition to, or Green Cloud supports and you want to give some recognition to?
Yeah. So I've worked with a lot of different ones over the years, but I actually was given an opportunity to, at the end of the year, go build some homes in Thailand.
Okay.
I haven't accepted just yet, but I think I'm going to do that. But that's through Habitat
for Humanity.
For Humanity.
Okay, awesome.
So that's a big one, right? And I've never left the country, so that would be just an experience in itself.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one. Green Cloud also participates in the Run for Life, which is in Greenville, South Carolina, where we run to raise money for cancer victims, right? So,
and that's where you guys are located too, right?
Yeah, that's
South
our headquarters,
Carolina.
Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep. So the Run for Life is there, and then I'm going to put this in the universe. I believe heavily in that. I'm actually in the early planning phases of starting my own nonprofit.
Okay.
Called the Carol Christine Foundation.
Okay.
Where we're going to do educational events around art and technology for underprivileged kids in the local area. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm putting that out there because it's early in that process.
I don't know if you have a website or a Facebook page or LinkedIn, but you better have it done in the next about 3 weeks because Tyler's going to link to it.
Okay.
All right. So you got to at least get it done.
Accountability. See, comes back to that. Yeah.
You got that, Ty? Carol Christine.
Yep.
Carol
it's
Christine.
The name of both of my grandmothers.
Oh, that's amazing. Carol Christine Foundation for they're going to focus on art and technology for the underprivileged.
Yep.
I love it. All right, Ty. I'm putting it on Ty.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if you follow. I don't know if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk at all, but he always mentions D-Rock, right? Ty is my D-Rock.
Yeah,
he's my guy.
I actually saw him I was in Vegas a few weeks ago. I saw Gary out there shooting some of his
inspirational
videos. Yeah,
that's
he was,
legit.
I think in the hotel I was in, maybe.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool. Awesome. Well, Dan, thank you so much.
Yeah,
everybody. Dan from Green Cloud. He's down in Green. Ooh, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. Greenville, South Carolina.
Yep.
Greenville, South Carolina. And we work with them. They're partners of ours. They're big supporters of IT Nation Evolve, which used to be HTG peer groups. The whole ConnectWise ecosystem. So loving this, and thank you so much for coming up.
Yeah, thank you
Appreciate
for having
it.
me. Appreciate
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.